All right, it's 6 o'clock. I want to thank all of you for being here tonight. All of our aldermen are present. We have Chief Hale, who is going to be participating as to his part of the agenda tonight by phone. He's out of town at a conference. At this time, I'd like to recognize Ms. Bridget, who's agreed to lead us in prayer tonight, and then Alderman Powell will do the Pledge of Allegiance. So please stand.
Our Father, which art in heaven, Father God, we take this time to humble ourselves in your presence. We thank you for your blessings. We thank you for your grace. We thank you for your mercy that you give us every day. As we prepare for this meeting, Father God, we ask that you guide us in all decisions that are made regarding our residents, our businesses, and our communities. As always, we give you the honor and the glory that you are so, so worthy of. These and other blessings we ask in your precious Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Attention, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, item 3 is the consent agenda. Before I ask for your approval of it, I wanted to note one thing with regard to the IDEMIA contract. Mr. Gaddy correctly notified me that this agreement has a provision making it subject to Massachusetts law. We'll have to get them to change that to Mississippi law. And so your approval, if it occurs at this point, will be subject to IDEMIA agreeing to change the provision from Massachusetts law to Mississippi law. Other than that, absent some questions about the consent agenda, I would ask for a motion for its approval.
I move.
Mr. Slade made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Bates seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Mr. Gaddy, you'll let us know about that amendment to the contract. Thank you. All right, monthly budget reports. Item 4 are for your information purposes. Are there any questions at all about the monthly budget reports and the bank account balances, etc.?
I have one question, and this is because I didn't dig and look for it. Could you tell me what the last credit was for sales tax revenue, the person?
Yes, I can find that. I think it was around 269. I can have it to you. I'll have it ready.
Okay, thank you.
It would be, well, it may not be.
I have it in my email.
Yeah, it would be reflected.
Yeah.
I'm looking at,
For two.
Let me see. I remember whatever.
okay, just, what was the answer?
252,900 for the month.
And that was, as I recall, Lindsay, correct me if I'm wrong, about $7,000 or $8,000 higher this year than last year, same month.
Yes.
All right.
I'm looking at it right now.
All right, let's look at item 5. We have a very active committee who has agreed to help us develop the Gluckstadt Park. And they have submitted to you guys a report sort of summarizing their activities. Is there somebody here that wants to speak on this item? Okay. Yes, sir.
We had 3 focus groups come together. We had mothers of young children, we had maturing adults, and we had business owners. Everybody came through, saw the initial concept of it, and they gave their ideas of what all we want to see for a park. Mainly it was safety, shade, benches, and a nice playground for kids to play on. So I think we can accomplish all of that. And once we get closer to getting the details, we might do something more, a little bit hyper-focused on actual playground equipment, things like that. But as long as it's ADA acceptable, most everybody's happy with it.
And just for you all's information, if you've not seen it already, Chris has, and his group, William and others, has put together a preliminary conceptual plan. Do we have that?
It's in the packet. I don't know if it's on.
Yeah,
board or on
If it's
board.
in the packet, Scott, I'm sure,
Should be able to
display it.
It's page 220, or close.
Yeah, great. Scott, can you blow that up for us? That's right. Yeah, great. So Chris and William, and I'm sure others participated, contributed towards this idea. And there were maybe 2 or 3 different renditions of this, but we sat down and sort of, I think all agreed that this was going to be, if we could build this, it would be amazing. Chris, you want to spend a minute and just kind of explain to people what this shows us?
Well, you see along County Station Parkway, that would be our main entrance, our 24-hour entrance, basically. It shows food trucks right there. That's kind of an overflow. We move the food trucks up to the east end, or the west end, I'm sorry, where the pavilion is. Just nobody really wants to walk without food to get food trucks. So we have a stretch station that's ADA accessible. There's a roundabout right there. Altogether, there's 98 parking spots in this, which is a fairly large function for us. We'll have the open pavilion that'll have bathrooms in it and picnic table shaded area on either side. We're trying to do that little playground area kind of in the shape of a 4-leaf clover, where we have 3 different age bracket playgrounds and a splash pad. There will also be another pavilion gazebo type thing right there in the middle of that, so that parents could, see the kids on all playground types. There is a stage with a small terrace, which we're thinking about kind of turfing so that it's kind of an all-weather type thing, where we could have events, large or small fans. The open field, open lawn is where we do our bigger events, kind of have a nice stage setup if we needed to, or movies in the park, anything like that. This does require us to move or fill in a little bit of dirt to that detention lake in order to accomplish that stage and pavilion. We're gonna work on lumber for that. The yellow dotted trail would be a nature trail / arboretum type deal, which will give us just extra walking area. Altogether, the main path around the lake would be about half a mile. So 2 times around it would be a mile walking trail. And then the extra little squiggles will add some if that gets built. Any questions, we would love to answer on it, but this is our initial concept that we think we're gonna move forward.
Awesome. Great. All right, Chris, thank you. All right, any other questions or comments about the Gluckstadt City Park report? All right, let's go to Ms. Ruth, item number 6.
Good evening.
Good evening, Ms. Ruth.
6A is current grant projects included in your packet. There's not really any new information here unless anyone has any questions.
Let me ask you this, when I look at the Mississippi Outdoor Stewardship Trust Fund grant, and we just got finished talking about this park, and I think that there's gonna be some discussions in the future about perhaps another park in the city. Are some of these trust funds available for us to use to develop?
There's currently, I don't have to apply for these until September and January. So nothing's set in stone. Right now, both the Wildlife and Fisheries and the trust fund are set for projects outside of this city park that you were just looking
Okay.
at. I think we said the east, what did you call it, East Parkway?
Parkway East,
Parkway.
maybe a multi-use trail in there, or if something else comes up available, that's some way to get traffic flowing towards that area, Gluckstadt, start building that up as well.
Would the walking trails that we've just shown in the park be eligible for this grant?
I believe, yes, I think
If we need that.
if we need the funding, yes, let's leave it.
Okay, so if we needed the funding for
It
this
is
part.
eligible. To answer your question,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, it is
And,
eligible.
and does this grant source, this funding source, allow us to use funds for other things within a park, such as a bicycle trail or things like that?
There are, park, additions like bathrooms, parking lots that we can look at, or just note this is on the, current, this is submitted, that we're going to submit for the next graph, but anyway, we can look at bicycle trails, we can look at parking lots, we can look at security lighting.
So like if the city had, 10 acres of land and we wanted to build, for instance, some motocross trails on kids to ride bicycles on dirt trails, would this grant fund that?
I don't have that answer for you right now, but I will get it for you.
Okay, I'd like to explore that.
The reason is because they talk about motorized and non-motorized, but they also say that walking trails are, no vehicles, period. So I'm gonna have to make that definition for.
And my idea is bicycles, not motorized bikes, okay, bicycles. So I'd like to explore that because I see some possibility down the road that we may be able to do such a plan. And I'd like to explore that funding.
Okay. That was on the graph from item B, which is currently submitted or going to submit. Do you have any problems or any questions from either table?
Okay, let's go to,
Yes. I ask the board to vote to approve pivoting the Mayoral Health Council to a 501c3 nonprofit. This IRS designation will create a new pipeline for grant funding from foundation and trusts that only fund nonprofits. There's private funding out there. There's even government funding out there, a very small percentage, that only funds a nonprofit, that will not fund a municipality.
What nation did you just refer to when you started your sentence? I thought you said some kind of nation only.
IRS designation.
IRS designation, okay, it all rings together, I'm sorry.
so you would want us to convert the Mayoral Health Council, which is just really a informal committee, and formalize it into a 501c3 nonprofit.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that would enable us to access some additional funding sources that we don't have available to us now.
And most of them are gonna be corporate foundations. You're looking at Amazon, Allstate, you get into General Electric, that sort of thing.
Okay, good idea. Anybody have any comments, questions?
Will we still be eligible for the grant funding for the Mayoral Health Council if we convert this to a nonprofit?
Yes, because that money actually goes to the city of Flagstaff.
Is that a conflict of interest?
No.
So, yeah, my question is who would be responsible for the accounting of such funds?
It would be a simple QuickBooks or Excel worksheet, and it would be done outside of the city clerk's office.
My question is, who else does this? I mean, what other municipality, do we know of anyone who?
I did it when I was at Hines County SO. I had a nonprofit that I was able to apply for funds through, and it was the Hines County Reserve Unit.
Have you worked on what the mission is? With nonprofits, you can only really spend the money on what the mission, that's your programming. So.
Correct.
With the
And the health council is actually, will provide a fairly large umbrella. Health can be physical health, it can be mental health, it could be environmental health. We talked about some gas line issues we've had in the past. So that's a pretty broad umbrella.
Ms. Page, how do set up, it sounds like a really good idea. How do we set up a 501c3? Is it just a tax form?
Yeah, it's a IRS tax form, but the main thing is with the Secretary of State, you want to make sure you're spending that money on what they call programming, which is based off of the mission. So we would have to come up with some kind of mission that encompasses what we're trying to do. Like you can't spend the money on this that doesn't include your
Sure.
mission. So
There's a securities and charities division at SOS that we can work with.
Okay. So maybe what we can do, depending if the board approves it, maybe what we can do is somebody in the present mayoral health council would agree to sort of take the lead on handling and administering that. I guess my question is, does the city need to provide some oversight? I don't know that we do. I mean, this is.
Oversight as far as the nonprofit would have to show the board of aldermen everything they're doing. Because, you know, this is attached to the city of Gluckstadt, so of course you would have purview over everything.
My question is, who's actually responsible at the end of the day? Is the city, let's say some funds were misallocated or whatever.
It would be whoever is assigned is appointed as the committee of the nonprofit, the board of directors of that nonprofit.
the board of the nonprofit, which is, I guess, the mayor of council.
I'm okay with it as long, I mean, certainly the idea of developing additional grant money is very appealing, but my only question again is the city at any kind of liability risk? You know, that's my concern is, would this entity be accountable to the city? I guess, would you, let's say if you were on the board, you were actually handling the money, somebody's got to physically handle the money. You make like a monthly report to the board so we know all the funds coming in, how it's being spent.
It would be a part of your packet.
If we can do this with this Mayor's Health Council, would our park, do we have any other type of interest that would be eligible for something like this? The city park, if it was eligible, might open a lot of doors for new money. I don't know.
What do you mean if the city park was eligible?
Well, could the city park be a nonprofit? But I wouldn't think so, but
Well, the health council could apply for funds for that city park.
Otherwise, from what it sounds like, we would have to create a council for the park that would be over the park and have a whole other board for just the park in order for it to be a nonprofit.
You know, we're just gonna,
that's complicated.
we're just gonna create a separate entity, separate and apart from the city, that will meet their 501c3 requirements to allow it to fundraise and spend the money in accordance with those tax regulations. We wouldn't want to divest the city of the park per se. This is just a fundraising arm is essentially what this would be. Like a foundation, like many of these foundations.
That's different.
Could we get some more examples? I know like the guy that came last month said that, was it Pearl or Chloe may have had some kind of nonprofit entity? Can we get some more information on how they function? I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In the reporting stuff.
Right.
So
Yeah, I
Ridgeland
wanna
has
say
Ridgeland has
accountability.
a tourism commission that's a 501c3. They do all their tourism. It's a separate, completely separate entity. That's how they, you know, kind of broadcast it for the tourism stuff like that. They go through
Maybe
that.
something similar to that.
Yeah, I need to see more information.
All right, sounds like we want to table 6C.
Okay.
And we'll gather some more information about really how this would operate. Okay? Any other questions of Ms. Ruth? Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ms. Kellum, item 7.
Yes, Mayor. I did check on the sales tax diversion, and it was 4,000 up from last year's. So, FYI. The city clerk's office has been obviously very busy with budget season. We held our first workshop. We have 2 more upcoming, one at the end of July and one in August ahead of adoption in September of our budget and tax levy. I'm working on quarterly reports, obviously paying bills, agenda prep for this meeting. One thing I did want to bring y'all's attention is the privilege licenses. that are still outstanding. I don't know that there's a good amount, but I think we need to, or we're gonna work with legal on trying to figure out those at this point that would be willfully or grossly late on filing. So that's something that we're hoping that legal will send another letter, or, we can figure out new regulations on how to, or enforcement authority on how to handle that.
What's our idea as to how many delinquent?
We got like one.
I mean, you're talking, there's, every day I'm driving to the city, I see new business I've never heard of, like just some of these roads, there's like, we were going down,
Just 5 a week.
yeah. Well, like one, I think one day I was going down, American Way, we were on Enterprise, and there's like one that was tucked, there's like one that was tucked away that I'd never even heard of, so that's another one. I mean, if you're talking about just the list I have, it's probably closer to about 75. But that's just a list that we pulled up in VOR.
We did send a nasty letter back in December, after many attempts of trying to encompass them with, notices and posting on Facebook and, working with the business lines. So, at this point, I think that they've had plenty of opportunities to file with us. So we're gonna have to move forward with legal on that. So I just wanted to kind of give y'all
As
status.
distasteful as it is, we're gonna have to do it. I mean, it is the rule. And as I recall, you're the one who has individual liability for failure to collect these.
I can actually speak on that, because I was worried about that. One day we were at a conference, I was talking to Tom Changes, this audit office for 30 years. That line, and there's a line in there that basically says for every person you don't collect from is $100, right? Like the city clerk's person liable. That doesn't mean if a business doesn't come in and file. What that actually means is basically if someone were to come into my office and file with me and I issue them a broker's license and I negligently don't collect the money, then I get hit with that $100. Not if for whatever reason a business we've never heard of or never seen. This would be a better example for like Jackson. Obviously, that's probably more meant for that. There's how many ever streets and trying to keep up with all this. It's too much. It's a lot.
It's a moving target.
Manpower. It's always a moving target. Because think about how many home businesses that we'll never know about. There's no way we could ever know about. I mean, I could go start a business in my home in the city of Madison right now and just not file, and no one would ever know. Because there's just no way to that. But that's what that means. Okay. That had me paranoid. To be honest with you, 'cause I don't want to collect. But
It would
so
be
that
me,
was why
not
I
you.
asked him. That's why I asked him, and he was very clear about that.
All right,
So
but y'all are gonna get together and come up with a plan.
Yes.
trying to avoid filing 75 different lawsuits.
Yeah, we don't wanna do that.
But we'll get it. Well, the other option is, I've heard other towns back in the day used to padlock doors. I don't know if I'd recommend that, but technically,
We don't wanna
there's
do that.
a city that did that. So.
All right? Yes, ma'am.
Lindsay, on the software implementation, what are you still implementing in Tyler?
We're still trying to work out some kinks with court.
Kings with court.
With court. Yeah, the problem that we've run into with court is it is court 9 and our finance software is 10. They do not have a court 10 that they offer for Mississippi yet. And so there's been a lot of kind of bridge work that we've been working on with the developer, with Tyler, to fix those issues. They're getting better, a lot better. In fact, bank reconciliations this time around were a lot smoother. We were able to do them very quickly this time. So I think some of the bridges that they put in place in the last month or 2 are starting to work. But I'm hoping that they release a 10 for court eventually for Mississippi, and that would probably alleviate some of the issues we have.
And I asked, we didn't really get a reason why it's not available. It's just not available.
So it's available in some states, but not all.
Yes.
All right, item 7C. I can't imagine why you think it important to send our staff to cybersecurity courses annually. But I agree, it's a good idea and it won't cost us anything.
No, it's free through Matrix, well, what used to be Matrix Solutions. They're now called the 20, but they do offer cybersecurity courses. They're online that I can see who's taken them, who can manage. So I think it's a great idea for all of our staff to have that. I'm asking for the board's authorization to make it a mandatory annual training.
Okay, any questions? Is there a motion then to authorize the annual requirement that our staff attend the cybersecurity courses.
Motion.
Mr. Taylor made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Slade seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Item 7D, Ms. Keller.
Yes, my memo was pretty lengthy, in the agenda. It pretty much explains everything as far as the Department of Labor has handed down a new threshold, that is being challenged in other states right now, such as Texas. I've worked with our employment law attorney on this, and it's only going to affect 3 of the positions that I've identified in the city. So what it boils down to, you know, after y'all read my thorough memo, is that we need to convert those 3 positions to allow them to get comp time instead of overtime. So that's what I'm requesting, is the board approve the deputy court clerk, the deputy city clerk, and the lieutenant for the police department to allow them to gain comp time instead of overtime.
All right, any questions or comments on this issue?
Is that a choice they make, or is that something mandatory?
So once they meet a certain threshold, and also they have to meet certain, you know, duties, you know, as far as, you know, administrative duties, they have to, it's really not a choice. Like we just have to be able to formally put them into comp time, because we've allowed for all the department heads to have comp time, because they're exempt from overtime as well. These 3 positions I've identified as being exempt in addition to those.
Actually, we're making the choice.
Yes.
Because right now, subject to the new Department of Labor regulations, they would be eligible for overtime. We're making the choice now to remove them from that and to allow them to.
No, they're not eligible for overtime. The threshold is 43,000. So all of those positions are over that threshold, and so they would not be allowed to get overtime.
Oh, so they wouldn't get overtime
At
or comp time.
Right. And so we have to make the switch to allow them to get some.
Okay. I misunderstood. I
Yes,
thought
sir.
they were now eligible for overtime.
No, sir.
They're not, but they would not be eligible for either.
Right. Unless the board allows them to be added to the department heads. I don't know if y'all remember, in February, you allowed the department heads to get comp time because they were overtime exempt. And it was a way to kind of compensate them, you know, if they're here for 3 hours at a board meeting. So it's kind of the same thing with these folks. It's just 3 positions.
Okay. All right. So, is there a motion then to allow these 3 positions to accrue comp time?
Motion.
Mr. Slade made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Powell seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you for clarifying that. I
Yes, sir. I'm
misunderstood.
sorry for
That's right. I
confused you
misunderstood.
guys.
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
Ladies first.
Thank you. This, second page of this is the, I guess, from Phelps Dunbar, Mr. Todd.
Yes.
So this will be considered again in January?
Yes, so it actually gets changed again, as long as it's not legally challenged in Mississippi, to 58,656 in January of 2025. So
At
that,
that point, it'll only affect, well, no, it still affect their employees and we don't have anyone else.
yes, and then I'd have to do another review to make sure that I don't need to add additional
Okay.
employees at that time,
So we'll be considering this again in January.
2025.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, or into February potentially, so January.
We have what's roughly 7 or 8 employees now total that fall under this.
Yes, it's all department heads with the addition of these 3 employees.
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Hall, item number 8.
Good evening.
Evening.
They,
Actually, in the month of June, we issued 27 permits totaling $60,506. Total of 28 inspections occurred. At the time of this memo, we had 163 active permits. We've closed a few since then and issued a few, so we're probably about the same still. One of the big projects that we had a phase closeout on, Germantown High School. We issued a CO for their classroom addition. They're still doing their performing arts center. It's expected to be done around November-ish or so, but the classroom is a very nice addition. And we did close that phase out, last weekend.
William, a couple of months ago, we implemented this new sort of checklist system that we were giving the potential developers or interested developers. How's that working? Is that going as you would expect it to go?
Yes, sir. We've had some people look at it and ask, what is this? And we explained, this is our list of inspections and what we are gonna be looking for and expect to be completed. We've had feedback of, they appreciate this. They like the transparency of it and they know what to be expecting now. They said they don't know of any other cities that do that. And they appreciate it.
Good, okay, that's what I wanted to make sure. Okay, you're going to go now, you got more to add under 8A?
That was all at this time for a general
Okay.
update.
All right, we'll go to 8B, proposed conditional use changes, Ms. Bates.
Yes, so William and I have been talking, and I don't know if anyone's aware of this, but now we have 11, is it still 11? Is it more?
9,
9?
and we have one that if they pay for their permit, it made 10, and we have an 11th nail salon proposed.
Right, proposed for permits to come into the city of Gluckstadt. And so we were talking, and I said, okay, well, we definitely need to try to put some of these white businesses into conditional use, so that way it creates more transparency to the board, so that way we know what's coming into our city beforehand and not afterwards. So we start talking about different businesses that we want to see come before the board before to add them to a conditional use, so that way we know what's coming in. Not saying that we're gonna not approve them or approve them, but we're aware we can ask those questions on the front end and not on the back end. This is just a proposal, this is discussions. If anybody has any other items that we need to add, like apartments or convenience stores or anything like that to this list, we're open to the discussion for that.
All right, anybody want to discuss it?
I do.
Mr. Slade?
I've talked to Ms. Bates several times about this. I've talked to Mr. Hall about it. I'm in full support of making all these businesses subject to conditional use. The changing of the zoning on the vaporizer, bail bonds, nightclub, I'm okay with that. The 4 businesses, 4 through 7, you're not making a zoning change request, just make those subject to conditional use. The next, 8 through 11, I would like to add apartments to conditional use. Me and Mr. Hall looked at our zoning map right before the meeting. Right now, we have no property zone, I think it's R3.
Correct.
In the city that apartments could be approved anyway. So it may be a moot point trying to add apartments to conditional use since we don't have any property zone apartments can be placed on. So another thing I'd like for us to discuss is adding convenience stores and liquor stores to this list of conditional use. Now, I know right now they're subject to conditional use, but to do away with the distance requirement. I know some on our board, I think, feel very strongly about keeping the distance requirement in place. My concern is I like competition. I think we're getting far too many nail salons. But with convenience stores, an issue I have is the cost of gasoline here. I don't think we have enough competition here. I go to Madison, Ridgeland, and Brandon often, business, and I compare the cost of gasoline, and certainly Brandon and Ridgeland is considerably lower than it is in Gluckstadt. Example, I went to Brandon this morning, got off the interstate, on the south side of the interstate, 3 convenience stores, the Circle K, Texaco, and Exxon. They were all $2.89 a gallon. Cross over the interstate, there's an Exxon station there, a convenience store, $2.89 a gallon. I come to Gluckstadt, we're $2.99 and $3.09. You know, real estate may be more expensive here, maybe they may have to charge those prices due to the cost of overhead and everything. I don't know, but I feel like when we approved, I think the distance requirement for convenience stores, I think we gave those businesses a monopoly. And I think it's, you know, when you're in that situation, you don't have competition, you're guaranteed not to have competition. I think it just gives you too much authority on when it comes to pricing and service. But I personally would like to have convenience stores and liquor stores stay under conditional use, but remove the distance requirement concerning.
Right, so that way you can ask those questions when they do come before the board. You know, have you looked around in your area? The preliminary questions, just to make sure it's a good fit for that area.
The same way with nail salons, you know, you say we could have 11 here.
Correct.
You know, I mean, it just seems almost ridiculous to me how in the world we justify or how 11 could be, I guess, viable and profitable. But yeah, you wouldn't want to have like 2 nail salons in the same strip center. You don't want to have 2 convenience stores then, I mean, right beside each other, 100 yards of each other, but I can see some major intersections, and you see it in Brandon and Richland everywhere. Major intersections, you'll have 2 convenience stores right across the street from each other. And they've been there 30 years, so they're viable and profitable. But I just don't feel like the distance requirement is really serving our citizens in the best way. Because I just don't think we're getting the level of competition there that we need. I know this is for discussion purposes, so.
Anybody else?
Well, my only comment to that would be, I understand what you're saying on the competition. I don't disagree with that part of it. But the liquor stores and the convenience stores and storage facilities were some of the 3 main types of businesses that when we asked these citizens in this community to support incorporating a city, to have the governance and the policies and the ordinance, and that we can modify along the way, that was some of their biggest concerns. And multiple citizens questioned me, please tell me that y'all will do something about so many saturating the area. And that was before we ever got where we are today.
I understand. I mean, I understand what you're saying completely. It certainly makes a lot of sense. And again, I strongly support all those businesses being subject to conditional use. And I feel like we will have some requests to come before us for nail salons, beauty salons, and convenience stores that we're going to say no to. But I think this distance requirement we got on convenience stores, I think is probably hurting us more than it's helping us.
Do you mind telling us if you've had any conversations with any convenience store owners directly? This is just.
I have not. No, I haven't.
Mr. Taylor?
What are we, 10 square miles?
Approximately.
It takes like 15 minutes to go from one side of the last gas to the other, if you hit all the lights, right? And you're in the speed limit.
7 minutes for something.
So if you separate all these guys by 5 minutes, it's still, I mean, they can still see them, they're still close to all the other nail salons or whatever business we're talking about. So I don't know how separating them really helps. It's almost like we almost need to make all businesses, come before us and give them a thumbs up and a thumbs down whether we want them in the city. I know that I went down the shoes, so I'm a little slow, but I mean, it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth that we pick winners and losers. I've got a little personal knowledge of
Kevin and his nail salon. Because my family worked for him doing some personal stuff. The only time I've ever seen that guy lose money is when he left his money bag on top of his car, drove off and lost it. I haven't seen any nail salons go out of business yet. We got trying. I don't know. It's just tough. I understand what everybody wants to do, but picking winners and losers and trying to separate people within 10 square miles, it sounds kind of tedious to me. Just my thought.
Mr.
I
Powell?
wouldn't necessarily object to some of these being added, but I would piggyback on what, Alderwoman Williams said, that when we're walking and collecting signatures, gas stations, liquor stores, the police department with people speeding, running stop signs, and planning and zoning, and public works are the key issues that everybody that we spoke to were adamant about, with Flopsat. They felt there's an oversaturation of gas stations, which I'm not gonna disagree with it. I mean, you can't drive very far without seeing a gas station. I mean, you can almost get a baseball and throw it and hit a gas station pretty much anywhere in Flopsat. So I think that we've done the right thing by having the distance requirements, for liquor stores and for gas stations. And I think we've done a great job with, getting public works implemented, the planning and zoning implemented, the police department. I spoke with people in Arrington, with, Red Oak, with, Ridgefield, who are, yeah, we hear a lot of complaints about, you know, that people get pulled over for speeding. But you talk to the people who live in those neighborhoods and they'll tell you that they're thankful for the police officers being out there pulling those people over for speeding. I'm not turning out my neighborhood getting run over by somebody doing 80 miles per hour anymore, so I'm thankful for it. So I would strongly object to changing the distance requirements, with the, gas stations and with the liquor stores.
All right, just sort of take the temperature of the board, because this is discussion, and what I'm getting ready to propose is that Mr. Gaddy, Mr. Giddy, and Mr. Scanlon prepare some proposed amendments to the zoning ordinance for our actual review next meeting. And here's what I'm gonna propose he do. You guys tell me if you disagree. It sounds to me like the general consensus is that, for the businesses numbered here in our materials, 1, 2, and 3, that there is no general objection to making those subject to conditional use with a change in zoning. So we would need an amendment to do that. It sounds like there is no general objection to items 4 through 7, making those businesses also subject to conditional use. And then with regard to items 8 through 11, we would want to do a proposed amendment that required a distance requirement or had a distance requirement, and one that did not have a distance requirement, though making all of them subject to conditional use. And we want to add to that apartments, convenience stores and liquor stores are already subject to conditional use with a distance requirement. So in the proposed amendment, we would need to do one removing that distance requirement. Okay, so as I see it, then we'll have all of that before all of you guys can consider it all and vote up or down on those, one way or the other. It sounds to me like generally with regard to 1 through 7, sounds to me like there's some general consensus on those, and that we'll have 2 options to debate with regard to items 8 through 11, adding apartments to that as well. Either you understand what I'm asking you to do? Yes, sir. What would be the proposed distance requirement for those type facilities? What distance number are we looking at?
Why don't we do what we did for convenience stores and liquor stores, whatever that number was?
2,000 linear feet.
2,000 linear feet?
I think it's more than that.
Is it more than that?
4,000.
4,000.
I thought it was more than that too. It was 4,000. Let's start there for some level of consistency, and then we can have what I know will be a vigorous debate on this next meeting. All right, does that sort of accomplish Ms. Bates, what you want to accomplish? Okay, all right. That will be our marching orders, and we'll cover that item.
Mayor, we will have to set that
Yes, sir.
for a public hearing, so we'll get that notice.
Yes, sir. Okay, we'll do that. All right, item, Mr. Hall, I'm sorry.
We don't have to take action, it's just a direction to get that ready.
No.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, item, 8C, the Oaks conditional use. Mr. Hall?
The Oaks residents, coming before y'all as a conditional use for public, quasi-public, as an assisted living home. This will be located if you go up Calhoun Station Parkway all the way to the Stout Road intersection. It's in that southeast corner. There's a 15-acre parcel, and this will be the bottom 5 acres of that parcel. The next one we talk about will be on the top end of that parcel. But the Oaks, assisted living, it'll be a 15-unit house, essentially housing unit, for lack of a better term, disabled elderly. Now, we'll say from the state that it's very strictly with the way that Mr. Phillips wants it to be defined by the state. It's very strict into what quote unquote disabled is. They must basically be able to, as fire questioned it, are they able to get out of the house in a emergency event on their own, or do they need assistance? In this instance, they are not bedridden, they are not wheelchair bound. If something were to occur in an emergency, they could get themselves out of the house and away from the emergency situation. This is essentially people who might need, say, a reminder for medication, maybe a little meal help, make sure they eat, laundry assistance and whatnot. And it is built very much, it looks like a large house instead of a commercial building. And they do have an activity area behind it. Fire department is happy with the overall design. And they made some minor changes for fire department access. And PD does not foresee any issues with it either. Planning and zoning reviewed it, and they unanimously voted recommendation of approval for the board.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hall. I wanted to recognize Mr. Phillips, who, this is his plan, he and his wife's idea. I met with Mr. Phillips today and we had a good discussion about what he wants to do, and I offered him the opportunity to be heard and to address the board, and he does want to do that. So this time I'd like to recognize Mr. Phillips.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the opportunity to be here in front of y'all tonight. This project has been a long way in the making. Me and my wife, I grew up here in Madison, Mississippi, born and raised, went to Madison Central, ended up at Ole Miss, played a little football, met my wife, moved down to New Orleans. While there, we had the opportunity to get a glimpse of some wonderful ideas that is successful in New Orleans and successful in a lot of areas of the country. For me, I've been an ICU nurse for over 10 years. I love serving people and taking care of those individuals. My wife comes from a business background with her family's company for 80 plus years. We never thought that there'd be a great melding between healthcare and a beautiful building, because she was in real estate. But when God puts something on your heart, he makes it away, and here's Oaks. That being said, it's been a challenging year and a half, but I'm very happy to be in front of y'all today. A much better version of my own self. And along the way, there's been bumps, but I know that me personally, God's put it on my heart to take care of these, older disabled individuals in a very unique, wonderful way. And that's what we're wanting to bring with Oaks. The easiest way to describe the actual building is it's a sorority house full of Golden Girls. They've gotten a little older and need a little extra help. And I have the opportunity to be that person that stands up for them, to look out for them. You hear all these things that can happen, elders getting taken advantage of. Well, I was an offensive lineman. I took care of my quarterback. That's my quarterback. Every single one of these people. I'm not afraid to stand up to level 1 trauma ICU surgeons when it needs to be. I'm an advocate for these people. And that's something that I don't believe our community's actually heard. I've heard a lot from those over a year and a half with Livingston and everything, but you haven't actually gotten to see, my heart and what I'm trying to do and why I'm trying to do it. That being said, I believe it's a beautiful facility. I believe it's going to be in a great area, very quiet, very close to the interstate, 2 minutes from Sowell, and then 2 miles from Merritt Health. So if we do have any kind of health emergency, we're very close to a great healthcare provider in our county. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. If y'all have questions, I'd love to answer. Yeah.
Any questions, Mr. Phillips? I think it's a great idea. Thank you for bringing this to our city and for meeting with me this afternoon. At this time, is there a motion to approve the Oaks conditional use?
I move.
Ms. Bates made the motion. Mr. Slay seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Phillips, congratulations.
Thank you.
Good luck.
All right. Mr. Hall, 8D, Mills Contracting Site Plan. This would lie just north of the Oaks, correct?
Correct. It's on the top 5 acres of that same 15-acre parcel. Mills Contracting is actually existing already here in Gluckstadt. They're in a smaller office building. They're looking to move out on their own. They've grown up, they're ready to move out. The big question that I think came across several times whenever you hear construction is what's going to be at this building. This is not designed for heavy equipment. This is not designed for large trucks. It's primarily a meeting office or just a general office for a construction company. There will not be heavy equipment, again, no heavy trucks. The primary entrance is off Stout Road, though the property does go all the way to Calhoun Station. And it was asked if P&Z to bring material samples before the board. Just make it easier to see. That's their brick sample. This will be the grout that goes within the brick, and their metal will be the darker bronze.
And the square footage is what,
4,800.
2,800?
4,800.
48, okay.
There will be no units mounted on the roof. There will be parapet walls around the 3 portions facing west, north, and south. The back of the building will not have a parapet, but there will be no equipment up on the roof. Everything will be ground mounted condenser units. And again, well, behind it is a large agricultural property. There's no development on that property, and as far as I know, there's none planned at this time.
Mr. Hall, just so that I'm clear, the actual architectural and engineering drawings that we have in our materials are the final versions of these.
Yes, sir.
And I know that it passed P&Z unanimously, but as it is set forth here is what P&Z voted out.
Correct.
And I've heard someone speak on this. Sir, do you want to address the board at all?
I'll just say that we're a commercial general contractor.
Tell me your name.
Matt Mills.
Mr. Mills, welcome.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We're a commercial general contractor. We serve the state of Mississippi. I've been in the business for 30 years. Started my own business 2.5 years ago, located here on Buckstadt Road. And we're just growing. We need more office space. We're going to build our own building.
Well, thank you for considering building it in our city.
Yes,
Any
sir.
questions of Mr. Mills or Mr. Hall?
Question, Mr. Hall. In the, I guess the hydrologist, engineer report or whatever, it mentions pre-mills, post-mills, and then post-Ross furniture. What does Ross furniture have to do with this?
That's a good question. I didn't catch that one.
that's pond route, post Ross Furniture. I saw that. I said, well, what does that have to do with this? As it drains down, but Ross Furniture is gonna be
Ross
over on
Furniture is-
51.
Correct.
I don't know, just,
Same architect.
that makes sense to me.
I didn't get that, neither did Mr. Butler.
On
We
page
both
one
reviewed it.
eighty-seven of the material.
Yeah, I'm like 188, yeah, and then 187.
Is this the site that at planning and zoning, I think I asked you to remind that on a CMU connection, or was it the Oaks? That this will be CMU serviced and, sewage output?
They're both.
Well, the Oaks, I believe, will be CMU service. CMU does not have a gravity service for the Mills location, so he already has DEQ approval to put a septic system in at this time. But he is planning his plumbing in such a way that when that service becomes available, he can remove the septic treatment and switch over to the gravity for
Right, that's what it
CMU.
was.
All right, any other questions of Mr. Mills or Mr. Hall? Is there a motion to approve the Mills contracting site plan?
Motion, sir.
Mr. Taylor made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Powell seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, Mr. Mills.
Thank you.
All right, item 8E, William Hall, Mr. Hall.
This is a amendment to the already adopted 2018 International Property Maintenance Code. This was kind of interdepartmental between us and Public Works. We're, in a nutshell, this is taking the existing requirement of lawn maintenance or property maintenance, requiring that you mow all the way up to the edge of the pavement or the back of the curb, whichever exists at that property. And if it's an undeveloped commercial property, continue to maintain 50 feet back from the existing right of way as a mowed area. The rest of the remainder, if it's over 1 acre lot, can be allowed to sort of wild grow up to 36 inches tall before you need to have it mowed down or bush hogged or whatnot. And also adds one section for maintenance of the right of way. Again, just requiring weed eating, removing of excess clippings and trash and debris all the way up to the curb edge in residential and developed commercial.
All right, any questions of Mr. Hall about this proposed amendment?
I do. Like in our case, we can't cut ours because it's wet all the time. So how would that affect us on distribution drive?
Probably can ditch out, get it draining properly.
You know, someone who can slope that ditch?
I believe we have someone who can.
Yeah, we can get that taken care of.
We have people. I've always wondered if it's a swimming pool next door that's draining into that ditch, keeping the wet all the time, but maybe it's not, maybe it's a slope, I don't know.
Those open ditches tend to sediment in and get filled up, so over time they'll need to be licked out. It's either we can lick out the ditch or we can add drainage pipe in there, get it flat, which is long-term goal, what we like to do throughout the city.
Was there a complaint, I mean, that caused this, or y'all just trying to improve things?
Trying to improve things, and we have had some issues with undeveloped lots, getting them mowed or bush hogged and taken care of.
And I notice it's a misdemeanor, so we're not putting anyone in jail for not cutting their grass.
I don't intend to.
That's up to the judge.
Once it's filed. Question, I guess this is more of a Chris question, and this is in reference to the corner that I've spoken to you about before on behalf of the owners. At Munich and Germantown Road, will the city continue to do anything there? Because y'all did come last year and, ditch it out a little deeper.
The only thing we're responsible for at that would be, especially inside of subdivision, is maintaining drainage flow. So we would come in there, take the ditch out, we do need to rip that where it's eroding. But that's all we're required to do there, is just keep the flow of the water.
Okay, should I just encourage that owner to just come start
They
speaking directly
maintain
to you
that like
guys?
it's the rest of their yard that they do maintain.
Yeah.
Just because it's the corner doesn't make it not
still
Yeah,
park.
that erosion has happened, you know, under the stop sign leans 90% of the time.
Right.
And I don't, it's been an ongoing issue for years. The county was helpful in keeping it
Yeah,
cleaned
the way
out
that, the way
somewhat.
that comes together right there with that drainage pipe, it's hitting that wall and it's just circulating during heavy rains.
Yeah, that's what
We're
you told
just
me.
gonna add it.
All right, I'll just encourage them to get with you from here forward. Okay, thank you.
All right, with regard to AE, the proposed amendment, is there a motion then for approval?
I move.
Mr. Slay made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Powell seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Mr. Powell, item 8F.
Yes, sir, thank you. So I just want to have a discussion, I know we've had some issues, recently with some developers not building and doing properly, with roads and buildings and such. And just, you know, obviously we can call them out, we can do this and that with them, but what kind of avenues do we have, fines, or what can we do, you know, to discharge that? I mean, it's one thing to, you know, have a person come in here and say, we're gonna make an example of them, but, you know, I think, $50,000 fine for building your place in the wrong spot would be a little more applicable than maybe saying something to a person, so.
So you're talking about a developer who veers from the approved site plan,
Correct.
building requirements, et cetera.
Correct.
Okay, so as I appreciate it now, about the only thing that the city could do is just withhold a final certificate of occupancy from somebody.
That's one of the stronger things we can do, because that would keep them from building anything else as far as something that could make them money back from that lot. We do have a section in there, section 814, which goes through the whole legal process, and if the judge determines it, we can charge them up to $100 a day after they're noticed, give them 7 days to begin making corrections. We do have that section which we can pursue, and again, that's up to the judge to determine the daily charge on that and how many days to charge. As far as the flat fee, say 50,000, I believe we're limited by the statute of limitations. Zach maybe ought to specify on that, but I think we're limited to $1,000 is all we could do on that.
Well, it's, so the section 814 comes straight from the statute. It is 17-127, and that sets out the penalties, and the max you can do is $100. But it's each day that the offense keeps occurring, it is an additional $100 unless they make some reasonable effort to fix or start fixing whatever was wrong in the first place.
But they built a building, now, as a small business owner, you know, I mean, we've got these people that want to come to Gluckstadt and want to open a business, and they're going in this, retail establishment. Well, they built the building, you know, you got these people wanting to open a building, you know, business, so they all the CO, I mean, yeah, we're getting the developer, but we're also, getting the small business owner that's trying to come in and open a business and support our, you know, our community. I was just wondering if there's a better way to handle this, or, I mean, obviously we're not gonna make them tear the building down, but I'd hate to do a CO, you know, hold the CO, and then these people can't come in and open their business and be part of Gluckstadt. So I just, said anything would be $100 a day.
Yeah, I don't know if there's another avenue to go down to make the fine any more than $100 a day, since it is statutorily given that it's $100 a day. So what we're talking about now is, for instance, to use Mr. Mills as an example, the board approved his site plan tonight. And his folks have to build his building consistent with, to the T of that site plan.
Correct.
I think what you're contemplating, Mr. Powell, is if they don't.
Right.
So if he doesn't, you're not gonna give him inspections as are required. He's ultimately not gonna be able to occupy his building, which is harsh considering the man's probably spent millions of dollars on the building, but at the same time, we have to have some way to enforce the rules. And that's what I think Mr. Powell wants to discuss is, what are the other options available to the city? I mean, the most drastic option is to get a court injunction to get them to stop building the building, the work to even have the building torn down. But we would have to go to court to get that done. But the only, any violation of the zoning ordinance, whether it's site plan, conditional use, anything like that, is a misdemeanor that is, you can get fined up to $100 a day.
And that's state statute.
That's state statute, and that's the exact language that's in the zoning ordinance, is directly from the state statute. I can certainly do some more research to see if there's another avenue other than that particular statute, to see if there's any greater penalties or anything like that out there. But as far as I know, it's sitting right here, that's the only provision that, goes to the violations of that. If it was a separate ordinance, some ordinances have, you can get $1,000 a day and up to 90 days in jail. But the zoning ordinance has a specific statute that says $100 a day.
Seems that the biggest motivation to do right is that they can't occupy their building that they just spent a fortune on. So that would seem to me to be the biggest motivator.
Also puts the city in a tough situation like we've already been through with a building that wasn't built to the way that it was approved. Then we're in the situation of, are we really gonna tell a man to tear his building down or to build it differently? We're not gonna do that. So we really want to head those types of things off well before we get to that stage, which is the reason why we got this new implemented checklist for periodic inspections. So
Zach, if I may, is there a way we could charge a fee, say, it's like if they don't build the building or according to the site plan, they have to come back before the board to get the site plan reapproved? Is there a way to charge a fee when they have done it that way and it has to be reapproved by the board?
A reapproval fee?
I mean,
Yeah,
like,
something like
you could
that.
potentially add, like, I don't know what the application fee is, but you could potentially charge an application fee again. Now, whether or not you increase the application fee, I don't know. I mean, I think that's up to the discretion of the board, whether or not you.
But we can issue a stop work order. I mean, that's a.
If it's already built, you
fee.
can't really do much. with that.
Right. At that point.
Depends on how early you catch it,
Right.
At that point,
Yeah, I was thinking more after the fact, after it's already built and people are trying to go in and stuff like that. I mean, I realize, if it's not built yet, we can stop them and all this kind of stuff. But once it's built, what course of recourse we have.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Mr. Hall, I think that concludes your items tonight.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Buckner, item 9.
Good evening again. First off, just a general update, Yandell Road and Weisenberger Road, all the street lighting has been installed on that road. It looked good driving down there, through there at night. I've been through there once at least. Everything's in and we're looking good. Hopefully you'll get a chance to see it soon if you're driving that way. We are going, that says we are going to be sending the activation packets to MDOT tomorrow. We had to finalize signing some papers tonight, but we'll be getting those sent off, and we have a meeting with CMPDD, I believe it's the 26th, to get with them on what we need to do about getting our project started. Brad and Vicky will be going with us to that. We already talked about the park concept drawing. Curb and gutter has started being removed in Red Oak in anticipation for the asphalt paving that will be following shortly after. They are closing portions of the road while they do that, just for safety and moving up concrete and everything like that. But it's a construction zone right now, but we're hoping the water will be flowing better and we'll have asphalt laid shortly after this. The FY25 term bids will have an opening on July 23rd, and at the next board meeting, we'll be looking to award those.
Any questions of Mr. Buckner about his general public works update?
Just a quick one. I know when the state deals with asphalt, they get it tested, make sure they're getting what they paid for. Does the city do anything like that? They get a core sample?
If we have a question on whether or not it's not looking right or it doesn't look like it's mixing right, we can request samples of it, and then we would have to get with engineers to test that sample and make sure everything's copacetic on it.
All right, item 9B, I'm sorry.
Chris, on street lighting, what's next, or is there anything next on?
We're working on next, I'd like to have all the entrances to the city being lit up. Parkway East, if we're gonna do a multi-use trail out there, it needs some lighting up that way. We have Gluckstadt Road already done. If y'all have any roads that you would be interested in being lit, we're open to considerations, and we got plans with energy. We just need that list, or some examples of where you want it.
But there's nothing pending.
Nothing
That's
pending
wrapping up
right now.
what was
We're trying to do one good section per FY.
Okay. So there's anything would fall in the year anyway.
Yes.
Okay, on the curb and the work in Red Oak, one of the residents that follows the agenda reached out to me yesterday and said, please be sure and ask for communication from the proper department to let these neighbors know, you know, ad camp's gonna be in this area, or contractor's gonna be in this area. I know it's construction zone, I know cones will be up, but just we need to communicate, I think, with these citizens to let them know.
The best way for us to probably do that would be get in touch with the HOA.
Okay.
They can let everybody know
Okay.
through there instead of us going door to door.
Well, I don't mean door to
Yeah,
door,
we'll get in touch with the HOAs.
message system, but through an HOA would probably be beneficial.
We can notify the blocks that only go as well.
Okay. Yeah, let's please be sure and do that, because, I mean, one of the individuals, I think, works from home, and the other one, has had a lot of medical issues, and, you know.
The good thing is they should be in and out. They're hoping to be out by close of business tomorrow with curb and gutter. So
Okay.
it's not like it's weeks long worth of stuff. When ad camp is in there, hopefully they're 3 or 4 days and then they're out.
We're just
But we will notify.
Okay, great, thank you.
Can I ask one question on Red Oak? I know one night we had some discussion about the big flooding issues that they have. And we had talked about possibly reaching out to the people that own that property, with the ditch and stuff, about maybe getting an easement or some way working with them.
I have talked with them. They don't really want to grant us an easement at this time. They were gonna work on developing that property, so they don't want to set up a legal easement that could hinder that development. We have got permission to go in and get a few obstructions that would not damage their property or require us to take down any trees. So we'll be going through there to get rid of that. It's just trees that have filled in have kind of created a natural dam. So we'll be going in there to take that out, but we cannot widen the ditch. We cannot go in and remove trees. Can't take out roots, anything like that. We can just get rid of these 1 or 2 spots to try to help us out there.
They pretty much shut us down and denied our request. That's their property. Sure have.
It definitely affects what's happening in Red Oak though. I mean, that back section floods so bad,
Well, they're in flash flood.
Definitely not.
It's a terrible problem, and we'd love to be able to remedy it, but to remedy it, we'd have to go on these folks' property, and, you know, we would have to up the methods to do that, probably to go to court, create some huge fight with these folks to let us enter onto their property.
And I did talk with the neighbors that are right there where it goes into that wooded lot to see if they would be open to us building some sort of detention pond in there instead of just pipes. And I've got strong pushback on that. I don't think they really want that next to their house.
As my understanding, there used to be a retention or detention pond that's been filled in
And it got taken out and put in 2 large culverts instead.
Yeah, I sure did.
Is this on the south end of Red Oak?
Mhm.
But I know all it, like drains north to south with the subdivision.
Yes.
Okay.
We're working on it. We're gonna get what we can cleaned up to help it flow a little bit, but the guys noted to go check to make sure all the culverts are opened up, make sure they're not stopped up before we get any big rain events.
But we've never had a report of property damage or water in a home.
Not a
Due to
water
back
in a
up into
home.
there, splash flooding, and it keeps going and drains, but it just is pretty scary when it's visible.
Rangery Road got pretty high there at one of those storms, so, they know to go check it now.
All right, item 9B, proposed subdivision regulation amendments.
There were a lot of, it's a big amendment, there were a lot of changes. Mainly, we're trying to clean up text requiring curb and gutter alongside the roads being developed, as well as sidewalks. Currently, it's in there, but it is not well stated. It's in a table, hidden in there. It was hard to enforce that. So we cleaned up the text on that, making curb and gutter all new developed roads. So, for example, KO Drive that got put in, that was supposed to have sidewalks and curb and gutter. It did not, because the text was so hard to read. So any future roads that get put in, subdivisions, anything like that, without my notification or the board's notification, they have to have curb and gutter. I mean, there will be some places where we allow it just to sheet flow off. If they're large estate lots, such as like Panther Creek or something like that, it wouldn't really make sense to do all that when you have a large area for the water to go to. But in these tighter areas, we need to get it into piping and get it away from the area. We're no longer allowed lands to get sold by meets and bounds. We're requiring all the developments to have a plat for the proposed development. This helps us keep a hold of what's going on, such as County Station Parkway, where there's a whole development that was planned, but it wasn't platted out. So without us knowing about it, they could sell different properties, and that site plan is no longer going to happen anymore. By this, they would have to amend the plat. It would have to come back before the board. We would be able to say yes or no, whether we want this or not, and it just helps keep things more nice, clean, and organized. Plat procedures, the zoning ordinance got changed. We're kind of changing our regulations to more mimic that. So there's a preliminary plat, which would be like a concept plan. Then the construction plans will come forth. We would review those. Once the construction plans are approved, then they can start doing work. Once it's all done, we'll work on getting the final plat. The construction of new open dishes in new commercial and residential subdivisions, developments, and properties are not permitted. This is to kind of, to Alderman Taylor's complaint, get rid of those open ditches that could be sedimented in and silted in. That way it's easier for us to maintain on one, and it looks a lot cleaner when you just have a flat going across. You don't have water pooling here and there. There's not, 3 foot tall grass because nobody can cut it because it's so wet. Everything's a little cleaner that way. We've added language requiring developments that significantly impact drainage downstream to pay a prorated cost to the city for any upgrades that would be necessary. This kind of goes along the lines with Red Oak, where it wasn't designed, downstream wasn't designed to take care of Red Oak. So you're going to have downstream issues with this and upstream issues. So this would require the development to take that cost to the city and pay a portion of that cost, just to kind of help us with things that have not been taken care of properly. Well, some of those we'll have to deal with MDOT as well, but right now this is just to help out the city a little bit. And we added a subdivision development permit to the exhibits so that everybody would know what they'll have to fill out and what the process is to get something finalized.
All right, any questions of Mr. Butler about these lengthy amendments to the subdivision regulations?
I really like what y'all are doing, required curb and gutter and sidewalk. I think it's great.
I think that long-term looks that growth, I think that'll be very beneficial. Yeah. It'll look funny sometimes because you'll have one commercial property and 3 on the side that don't have sidewalks, but that's a little bit of sidewalk that will help us out in the future. And in the table that's in there, different roads have different size requirements for the sidewalks. Say it's Church Road, County Station Parkway, it's required to have an 8-foot sidewalk, because if we were to get a multi-use grant, the minimum for a grant, federal grant, is 8 foot. So that would keep us from going 4 foot to 8 foot, back to 4 foot, back to 8 foot. So that's what we're requiring.
I could see us getting pushback from some developers because of the extra cost, especially downstream water management, or that can be a pretty complicated thing to deal with.
And we're not asking them to pay the full cost. It would be a prorated cost that the board approves.
Okay. Good job.
All right, is there a motion then for approval of the amendments to the subdivision regulations?
Motion.
Mr. Taylor made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Slade, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Button, I appreciate your hard work on that. Thank you so much for that. Now we'll go to item 9C.
All right, if anybody has been down Stout Road recently, it, looks like a war zone. The county has a couple of subdivisions that are being built outside of the city limits, and their path to get dirt work and everything through there goes through Stout Road, which is inside the city. So we contacted the county, mayor talked with their board, and we got them to agree to maintain until, I think, December 2025. They will take maintenance of
December 2027.
2027, that's right, sorry. 2027. And they will maintain these dig out areas and things, the maintenance of Stout Road from city limits to county station.
Stout Road, we front Stout Road for what, 3/4 of a mile probably?
That's something like that. It's not the full thing to Calvert Road. We stop just as these subdivisions are being built.
Yeah. Well, I know kind of where the east and west side is, city limit. I don't know how far 100,000 is gonna go on that, it'll help, but you're
Well,
right, Stout Road is terrible.
They're doing the work in-house. $100,000 would have been us paying a company to fix just what it's damaged. They're gonna be doing this in-house. So they'll have their crews, they already have the equipment to be able to fix it. We will keep maintaining small potholes, normal things that happen to a normal road. We're gonna keep maintaining that. There's a drainage culvert that's kind of collapsed and it's caused a pothole. We'll take care of that stuff. This dig out areas and where it's completely blowing out is where the county will help out.
And we'll go back to them. I mean, if it comes to the point where the work in those developments continues and the road continues to be destroyed, we'll go back to them.
Right.
They were very cooperative. I mean,
Oh,
literally,
yeah.
2-minute phone call and this was a done deal.
Right.
So I hope you guys will approve it. All right, is there a motion for approval of this, agreement with the county?
Make a motion, sir.
Mr. Powell made the motion. Is there a second? Mr. Taylor seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Butler, thank you again for all your hard work.
Thank y'all.
Chief Hale, are you there?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
All right, we're on item number 10.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
General update, Mr. Mayor, once again on these tickets, they went up. We wrote, 517 tickets since the last board meeting. We had, 14 arrests, 3 of those being felonies, 2, involving guns, 1 was convicted felon. Another one was a stolen gun we recovered. Most of those involved drugs as well. We had 5 misdemeanor arrests. One of those felony arrests was actually, a DUI subject who fled the scene of an accident and attacked one of my officers and was a fireman. So he was charged with aggravated assault on 2 public servants. And the other one was the Miss Jordan Lee Sullivan that we arrested for going the wrong way on the interstate, causing that tragic accident 3 weeks ago. And we've had 6 DUIs and 2 guns recovered. We've worked 21 accidents since the last board meeting, and we served so far 100 warrants, with a lot more to go. Of course, you know, the update on the building is, I believe it's going to end up being delayed. I think the mayor can probably tell y'all more about that, if you wanted to go into detail about that.
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt you, but to short
No, you're
circuit it, I believe that we're looking at least a 30-day delay from the end of August, probably to the end of September, based upon the information that we know now about primarily Entergy being able to connect permanent power to the building. So my guesstimate conservatively is we're in the new building in October. That's what my guess is as of today. Go ahead, Chief.
But we hate that it's a setback, but we're still excited about getting into a new building. So we'll move in when we can. So
All right, any questions of Chief Hale with regard to his general update? All right, Chief, 10B.
Yes, sir. This involves the 12 slot cameras that we're getting that's gonna supplement the 5 we already have, which is gonna be a real great thing for the city, especially when it comes to crime happening. 3 of these cameras are actually on the MDOT, MDOT right away on 51. So in order to get permits for that, we have to do the permit paperwork, and then I found out we had to sign an MOU for each camera with MDOT. And once it's signed, it'll go before their commission that meets twice a month. And as soon as it's approved, we will get those permits and SWAT can move forward with putting those 3 cameras up on Highway 51.
All right, is there a motion to approve this MOU?
Make a motion, sir.
Mr. Powell made a motion. Is there a second?
So,
Ms. Bates seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Chief Hale, is that all?
Thank you.
Is that all from you,
Yes.
sir?
Yes, sir, I believe so. I think the last item we discussed
We
was
did.
the business, so I'm good to go.
Okay. Any questions of Chief Hale? All right, thank you, sir. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, we're done with you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank y'all. Have a good evening. Bye.
All right, anybody signed for public comment? Anybody here wish to make public comment? Okay. At this time, then that concludes our agenda. I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
move.
Mr. Slade made the motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Second. Mr. Powell, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you for being here.